Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Life According to Nikki. I am a little bit nervous about today's episode, just because I speak about sexuality on a daily basis, but I don't tend to talk about my own views on sexuality. Mainly because I don't want it to get in the way of what my clients may feel or their values. I try and be very objective and unbiased. Of course, I have my own opinions, but a big part of my job as a sex educator is being able to provide resources to people that will speak to them and hearing and understanding their points of view and just trying to help them in whatever facet that they are wanting help. So I decided, I will post this episode because I do think people are curious about my own personal views of sexuality and spirituality and how I combine those in my life, how I view them, because to me, they are beautifully interwoven. And I don't think that I have one without the other. I don't think my spirituality makes me less sexual, and I don't think my sexuality makes me less spiritual. In fact, I think they work together, and I feel like I am a very spiritually, sexually driven person, and that aligns more with how I think that God wants us to look at ourselves. But, not everybody feels that way, and especially not within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is primarily the clientele that I work with. So I just want it stated before you dive into this episode that these are my personal thoughts, and a lot of them are still forming, especially around different topics and, my own personal experience with them. Because, again, I don't necessarily talk so much to people about my own experience. I am very scientific in the information that I'm giving people. As a sex educator, I teach 75 basic topics, and typically I'll work with couples. They will choose what topics they want more information on, and then I will curate the lessons to their exact specifications. So, for example, if I'm working with a husband and a wife, let's say, and they are wanting to deepen their intimate relationship, but the wife has never experienced an orgasm, then some lessons that they might find very helpful and useful is some basic biology and anatomy lessons, understanding how the clitoral network actually functions, how the penis actually works and fills with blood, and how the vagina works, or, that there's only 1/3 of actual tactile tissue, that most of the nerve endings that are found vaginally are at the opening, and understanding how our bodies work. And then from there, they may want to know how to increase the intimacy between the two of them. So I will give them lots of different options, and they'll be able to choose what they want to learn more about, whether that is techniques for oral sex or if it is information about different sex swings. I have tons of information about products. That's one of the things I specialize in. So pretty much anything that's sold at a sex store, I teach lessons and help people understand what's available to them, whether that's female vibrators, male vibrators, male masturbation, lube, the ingredients in lube, stimulants, all of the different products. There's so many different things. I've given an entire lesson on all of the differences between floggers, crops, just all the different tools that you can use to spank someone. I can tell you the material that they're made out of, how they're designed to function, the different brands. That is what I do for work. So this episode obviously goes without saying is going to be a little bit more explicit because I am going to be talking about sexuality. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, or if it is and you're listening with kids in the car or something, maybe it's not the most appropriate episode for you and your family. You can decide that for yourselves. But we are going to be discussing spirituality and sexuality today. And what it is I have a friend that she's writing a paper and she asked if she could interview me. So I just decided to upload the interview that she gave, or that she conducted, I guess, of me answering these questions. I hope that it's helpful, gives some insight. It's just kind of me talking and, again, giving my personal opinions and views. I'm far more eloquent when I'm able to meet with clients and have studied the material that they're wanting instruction on. But when it comes to my own personal opinions, these are my thoughts. Take them or leave them. I don't really care either way. It's just how I feel. But if you disagree, just know that that's not an issue. All of my clients that I work with, again, I go with their value system, not my own. So without further ado, I think that's enough. What is it? Enough of a tease. Let's just get into it. Are we kidding? Oh my gosh, I love that.
So just a little forewarning, I don't really have this figured out yet. So I'm in a history of LDS women class. So we're doing a final project, and our only guidance was kind of to just do something about LDS women. Super broad,
Yeah.
and like just to like write a paper about it or do a creative project. So the topic that I'm kind of leaning towards, but I haven't like specifically defined it because I'm not exactly sure what I want to focus on because I feel like there's so much stuff to focus on here.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of thinking of doing like how LDS women integrate a spiritual identity with a sexual identity.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
so
that's.
I knew you'd be perfect. But I'm also,
I am obsessed.
anyway,
Okay.
but you're my first interview, and also I like probably gonna go into like more stuff with you. So, but we'll
Oh,
see.
I'm
If this
excited.
is like pretty chaotic, like I'm sorry. And
Oh, all good. You're in
also,
the beginning stages, the
yeah,
just
yeah. I'm
idea
like,
stage.
exactly. I'm hoping I like
Mhm.
get some anyway ideas from like talking to people because I feel like I couldn't find like a ton of stuff. But I'm sure you probably have a lot of resources. So,
Yes, I
um
do.
anyway, so that's also something I'll definitely ask you about. Just so you know, I'm like not really going to be looking for anything specific here. So feel free to just answer the question however you want.
Okay. I'm so excited.
I know your favorite topic, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Better
100%.
be.
I know I'm in the wrong place if it's not. I'm
Yeah,
on the
for
wrong
real.
side of the world.
Uh-huh. Okay, my first question is like when did you first become like aware of the fact that you also had like a sexual identity or a sexual like part of yourself? Like maybe self-discovery or like imposed by someone else or like any of that sort of thing.
I would say it was when I was a teenager, probably I would say like maybe preteen, like 13 was when I became aware because that's when I became very self-conscious. So I would say that my awareness came due to society and like the ads that I was seeing, body image, and being like, I am not like those models. I don't have a thigh gap, right? Like on Pinterest, pinning all the things, and like the thigh gap was the thing of the moment when I was
Mhm.
a teenager. And realizing like I don't have a thigh gap and thinking that that was something wrong with me and associating that with like my sexuality, that like attractiveness and sex appeal is coming from looking a certain way. And I think I became very hyper aware of my sexuality in a very negative way because it was a lack of my sex appeal.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? It wasn't like, oh
For
my
sure.
gosh, like I'm pretty and I have, like I have sex appeal. No, it was like I don't have sex appeal and I want it. So I must be doing something wrong. And that's what got me into like really bad behaviors. I mean, that's literally the path that set me to my eating disorder was realizing I had sex appeal.
Uh-huh.
or feeling like I didn't and that I needed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch. So you recommended that, like, what, Killing Us Softly?
Yes,
I haven't
girl.
watched it yet, but it's on my list for this project because
That's gonna change your life.
I know.
Killing Us Softly 4,
Mm-hmm.
volume edition 4.
Okay,
It is, you're gonna be shook to your core.
I bet. Okay, so then I kind of want to talk about your process to like kind of becoming like more comfortable with your
Mhm.
sexuality and kind of what helped you with that. And like I'm assuming you'll share a little bit about dance and stuff or like anyway, but yeah, just anything that you
Yeah, I would say it definitely did not come until I was an adult, until I was like a senior in high school. I started being like, what am I doing? Like, why do I have these really messed up views of my body? Because I think sexuality for a lot of people, like, starts, especially for women, starts with a either negative or positive body image.
Mhm.
And then that creeps into like everything. But it's so closely linked, like how we feel about our bodies and how we use our bodies, either as like a manipulation, dressing a certain way. Like it all sends a message, and in Western society, it sends a sexual message. So when I was 18, I was like recovering from my eating disorder, and I was like, I never want to go back into that headspace again. And I had always, all of those years, kind of pushed up against these taboo topics. I was always the one that would instantly get upset when I was like shushed. You know what I mean? Like I
Uh-huh.
think just personality wise, I'm like, stomp my foot on the floor. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
why can't we talk about it? Why? Someone give me an answer that isn't because we don't, or because it's sacred. I don't want to hear it because
Mhm.
that is not lining up with what I was learning about God. It literally did not make sense. Like there was this teaching that the mysteries of God will be unfolded unto you, but yet the mysteries of sex won't be until
Yeah.
you're married. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
Those two not linking up, I was always aware of that. Always. I remember like in high school health class, even on this unit on reproductive health, how little we talked about it. And I went up to the teacher and was like, why was this only like a 2-day unit? Like, is there more? And we just labeled, like we had anatomical, very
Oh, uh-huh.
undetailed drawings of like a penis that we labeled and we had to know the functions of. And I don't even remember if we had a vulva. Like I remember for sure that we were tested on the penis, but it might have just been like an outline of the vulva, and it would have just been like, the clitoral hood, the
Mhm.
urethra, the vagina. That was like all we labeled. But I was like, isn't there more? Isn't there more
Mhm.
to this? And how come
Yeah.
I had to label all of the parts of the penis and like how they work and like all this, but like I just had to label 3 parts on a vulva, and we didn't really discuss like their function or how they work. I remember asking the teacher about that. I was like, we're only spending 2 days on this, and then we spent 4 class periods on STIs, on like
Of course.
how like basically you're gonna die if you have sex.
Hmm.
Like, you are going to get a disease and it's gonna kill you. Like,
Hmm.
so I just remembered thinking like that doesn't it genuinely, I from a spiritual perspective, I felt my soul telling me that that wasn't truth. Like I felt the spirit telling me and showing me in a very real way that what I was hearing was not the full truth. Because that's, the spirit's job, right? Is to deliver these messages and confirm to us when something is being told correctly and I feel like in its entirety, or give you impressions that like you've got a piece of it, but not all of you, search out, go get more. But no, it was this dissonance of like, there is something more here, and this isn't right. This is not being taught in a way that aligns with God.
Mhm.
And when I would bring that up at home or at church or anything like that, like in small ways, in little micro ways, it was always met with like, it'll make sense when you're older. Wait till
Mhm.
you're married. And I really, really didn't like that. And I think that that could be just part of my personality that I was literally born with in the pre-existence. Like, I can't imagine that I was just like quiet in the background
Yeah.
because of how loud I am here on earth with
Hmm.
such little knowledge. Like, I'm sure me in the pre-existence cared a lot about a lot
Yeah.
of things.
Mhm.
So I think that that's where it started. Then I got into my adulthood, and finally I felt like I was like, okay, I don't want to ever go back into this feeling of like feeling so self-conscious, having my entire worth as a woman be whittled down to my physical appearance and my thigh size. Like that
Mhm.
is crazy. I'm so much more than that. And also, I did not agree that my body was inherently bad, that me being a girl was bad
Mhm.
because I was the only girl in my family. I grew up with all brothers.
Twin. I
Hey,
don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't. I
oh
didn't.
yeah, no, I have four younger brothers, and that's it.
See, I have one older, two younger, and we're
Okay.
all very close in age.
Hmm.
I was given extra rules that my brothers weren't. And I love my parents and I feel like they were doing their best.
Right.
Like,
Of
but
course.
I think their fear, their just like innate fear of my, I'll just say it, like my power as a woman was like really oppressive to me. They did not want me to like anything that I did was seen as so extreme. I paint my nails black and I am seen as like so rebellious. You have to wipe off your nail polish. This is not kind, this is not sweet. This is not innocent. Like the I'm just painting my nails black. But
Hmm.
like it became this extreme thing and my image mattered so much more than like my brother who against the rules of our family and at the time the for strength of youth had a girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
I was like, so how come I who beehive laurel my made
Hmm.
president, like I'm my class president, I'm doing service every week, I'm going every Sunday, I'm doing all of these things, I have two personal progress medallions,
Hmm.
okay?
Uh-huh.
How come I have an earlier curfew than my brothers when I'm not doing anything
Hmm.
that's like causing it? But I think, and like my brother's out here having a girlfriend, and you guys blatantly say how that is against like the family rules,
Hmm.
but yet I'm not given the opportunity to like just flourish. I'm just constantly, I had to wear tights every single Sunday. That was a requirement in my home.
Gosh.
And again, like, do I think that that's inherently wrong or bad to like want to look nice and to dress up for like no. But when you take a second to like really look at this, it's like the amount of UTIs that I had as a child because I was wearing tights to church and then I was always wearing Spanx because again, I was fat or so I thought.
Mhm.
Like, and that caused for me, my body doesn't react well. And I was getting like yeast infections and stuff all the time
My gosh.
because of my tight clothing on my underwear. So I'm having to deal with at like 10 years old having a yeast infection because I'm wearing nylons and like tights to church for 3 hours. But yet I'm still expected to do that every single week because that is what women do. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
feel like it was this buildup of all of this stuff where I don't think it's inherently wrong. I think that you can have standards. I think that you can have all of these things, but the box in which we're putting them and the requirement that we're putting on that box, that you must have everything in this box and you must use it and wear it and do it. I did not agree with that. And I feel like at that time I was like starting to form my opinion of starting to question myself, of like, why don't I like this? What is it here that I'm like I've always pushed up against, but I haven't had words or, cognitive ability to like formulate my actual
Mhm.
opinion on. I've always been upset by it, but I haven't been able to articulate why am I upset,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
So that started happening when I was 18. And that was also when I started to understand. So I did not know that women could masturbate until I was 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I was also being exposed, I feel like, to more things that I had just never been exposed to. I had never had internet on my phone until I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so like obviously we had family computers and like
Yeah.
whatever, but like I did not have like Safari on my
Mhm.
phone. And I don't think that that's a bad thing that I didn't, but if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna not ex have, if you're gonna put things in place, then I do think that the parent needs to be still explaining the things that your child would be exposed to and like have them understand. Because then you have someone like me who's 18 years old, terrified, terrified to go in and talk to my parents because I had learned that that like girls can masturbate. And I was like, oh my gosh. And of course, masturbation at that time in my head was like the just a horrible thing that you could, horrible. And I was like, have I masturbated? Like, I didn't know. And I'm 18. Like, I think to someone who's not religious, I think they wouldn't understand how that's possible, like how you can go that far. I'd never been exposed to pornography. So to me, I was like, oh my gosh, have I masturbated? And do I need to repent? Do I need to talk to my bishop? Like,
Mhm.
so I remember like going into my parents, I was trembling, full body trembling.
Oh.
Have
Mhm.
you ever heard of a corgasm?
No.
So what causes an orgasm is it's a contraction in your lower pelvic floor muscles. Okay. And it's
Mhm.
very, very quick. It's 0.8 seconds, and it's usually like 10 to 15 is like what causes an orgasm. Okay. It's tightening really, really quickly. Now you can get, not all women can, but if you exhaust your lower pelvic floor muscles, this can occur. It typically occurs when you have like when gravity is working against you. So like if you were to like hang on a pull-up bar and then like have your knees together and like lift your knees up to just like do knee ups,
Mhm.
okay? But you do like 30 of them, your lower pelvic floor muscles are like really having to like squeeze in order to get
Mhm.
your legs up because all of your body weight is hanging, and so it's like it's working against gravity. Some women can experience that tightening and it can feel very pleasurable because it's
Mhm.
not going to cause like a full orgasm,
Yeah.
but it's called a corgasm where like
Okay.
it squeezes, and so it will squeeze those muscles around your vagina and
Mhm.
around your clitoris, and like you're pumping blood to that area as well, not in a sexual way, but just like how your body works. But it works in the same way that it does sexually.
Uh-huh.
And so then it can like become like tight and it can like feel really good. So I have like my lower pelvic floor muscles have like always done that. So I remember like in gymnastics when I was young, like young, 6, 7, 8 years old, there was like certain exercises that I was like, this feels really good. I would do sit-ups. I could do like 100 sit-ups.
Oh,
No, I'm
wow.
not even lying.
Dang.
Because I really liked the sensation that happened with my lower pelvic floor muscles when I would like exhaust them, and it felt really good.
Mhm.
Um, so again, fast forward, I'm 18 years old and I'm finding out that like, girls can masturbate. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think that feeling that I really like when I like exhaust my like you have to, it's not just like I do a sit up and I'm like, ooh, like no,
Yeah, yeah.
you have to like do certain exercises or
Mhm.
something like but I was like, oh my gosh, I think like have I been sinning? Have I been masturbating? That was like my connection that I
Oh
drew.
my gosh.
So I went into my parents' room and I was like, I had Googled it because I just gotten Google on my phone.
Mhm.
I turned 18, so I had Google. So I Googled it and I found out the term corgasm. And I went into my parents' room and I asked them. I will give my parents so much credit because I don't think that they meant to make these conversations so terrifying because I think my
Mhm.
parents were actually very more open than most.
Mhm.
And when I asked them about this, I was like, have you ever heard of this term, corgasm? And neither of them had. So like my dad looked it up right then. And I was like, I think I like experienced this.
Mhm.
And my dad was really great. I mean, both of them were like, I mean, and my dad goes, well, I mean, power to you if you can. Like if that's he's like, yeah, if that's a good motivator to work out, then there's nothing wrong with it. And I was like, I can't even tell you the relief I felt. I
Oh.
was like,
Mhm.
it was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go talk to my bishop. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
that was all stemming from because I felt like masturbation was bad. I felt like this is a sin. I felt all of these things about my sexuality. So it created this fear of even just understanding my own body and like how things work. And I tell that because I think that was around, so 18 years old, I was like, wait a second. Why am I so scared? Why?
Mhm.
Why am I so
Yeah.
scared? Sorry, I'm going on like such a long tangent. And this is only your first question. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Okay, girl, I need to stop. Okay, stop.
Okay.
Hard
Okay.
stop.
Hard
Okay,
stop?
next.
Okay. Sounds
Hard stop. I'm so
okay.
sorry.
No, you're good. If it becomes relevant again, bring it back. But okay, I was gonna ask, how do you think your like personal sexual identity that you've been developing differs from kind of like what society usually portrays like female
Mm.
sexuality to be?
I think the link of spirituality is very different
Mm.
from what mainstream society. My divine nature from my heavenly mother is interwoven into my identity as a sexual woman.
Mhm.
And I don't think that is something that mainstream
Yeah,
media
for sure.
or even members of the church like me it linking completely sexuality and spirituality makes a lot of people uncomfortable,
Hmm.
makes a lot of women uncomfortable because yeah, no, we've seen sex and sin, like sex as sin for
Hmm.
so long. And actually, let me just like pull this up. I literally was reading about this yesterday,
Okay,
about like where this comes from in my class. So I'm just gonna read this straight from my notes.
go for it.
The reason that Christianity has so long associated sex with sin came from the history of the Roman Empire. It was a period of social instability, and many exotic cults had been imported from Greece, Persia, and other parts of the empire to provide sexual entertainment and amusement. Early Christians wanted to separate themselves from these practices and did so by labeling them as extreme sin. Isn't that so
Interesting,
interesting?
for sure. Yeah. I actually was going to ask you about like sex and entertainment because obviously so we both pole dance and so
Mhm.
that is like a form of like sexual entertainment at a lot of places is pole
Yeah.
dancing. And so I don't know, I've kind of been thinking a lot about more sexual entertainment because I feel like to a certain extent a lot of entertainment is very subtly sexual. Like to a certain extent, like you enjoy watching celebrities who are attractive, or like you enjoy like a romance novel because like of that sexual tension or whatever. And so I don't know, I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on like kind of different forms of sexual entertainment and if you think there's a line and what the line is and how you personally define that for yourself.
Great question, Callie. Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel like my line comes from Dr. Jennifer Finlayson Fife's teaching. She talks a lot about that line being your personal integrity with what you're doing with your sexuality. That, like, recognizing that, yes, we are all sexual, and sex and sexuality, sensuality is very appealing to us as, like, Homo sapiens. That is like literally we are designed for that.
Right.
And we believe that it's for a high purpose. But just we are designed to be attracted to things, to want to look at attractive, like we're designed for that. We are inherently, that's in our literal DNA. But when you are aware of it and then purposefully manipulate, when you use that as a tool to get what you want in an unhonest way, that is where the line is. It's okay to not only be pretty, but know that you're pretty, and to dress nice and dress well and know that that's going to influence people. That is not wrong. But when you are doing it knowing that you're going to get a certain result that you would not get if you didn't move in that certain way, and like you're choosing to be more unnatural to yourself to get what you want, then that's where it becomes like, are you really acting in like full integrity? Are you really being kind to the other person? You're not responsible for other people's thoughts, especially like women are not responsible for men's thoughts. Okay. If you look at me and you find me attractive and you find me sexy, that's not, it's fine. But if I am using that now against you, like I am purposefully wanting someone to look at me as sexy so that I can get something from them that they otherwise wouldn't want to give me, then that's not very kind. So when it comes to entertainment, for me, sexual expression is not sinful. It is not bad. I don't view it as that way. To me, it has become this very, very, very healthy outlet for me. Like as a grown woman who is choosing celibacy, like, listen, I need a way to channel my sexual expression. And also, we talk all day about like prepare for marriage, prepare for marriage. Like you should do all these things to like be prepared to be married. I am preparing for marriage, but just like in the ways that you guys don't typically society like within the church look at as preparing for marriage. But no, like I want to be confident in the bedroom. I don't want my body image like issues to come into play. I don't want body image issues. I want to fully give into pleasure and if receive and give and all of that, right? I'm learning skills that are going to be useful in my marriage. But because of that, for me, I have chosen like this environment feels safe to me. This feels like I am not manipulating other people, because everyone that I've chosen to do this with, like the classes that I choose to take, the outfits I choose to wear, no part of my mind is thinking like that, oh, Callie's like, I really, I'm excited for like Callie to see me in this and like think certain things about me. Like, no, I'm doing it because I feel sexy and like I'm not using anybody else to get satisfaction myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
no,
like
I really like that.
Paige once, Paige pole dancing, Paige, national champion,
Yes.
I had her on my podcast and she said, she was like, yeah, I own 8-inch heels. And for her, she was like, but they've never seen out the outside of a pole studio. And I don't know, when she said that, I loved that because I was like, yeah, having safe spaces for you to express yourself and for you to like discover things about yourself. Pole dancing may not be for everybody, but like for me, it has been this very safe space. And then I am very selective about what videos I post on social media, what videos like I have only ever shared one chair dancing video and it was a contemporary chair dance
Yeah.
because the lyrics and like the movement and stuff, like the message behind it was not sexual. It was not.
Yeah.
But anything that is sexual, I choose and have full control over who I show that to and when. And I think that that is done in with integrity. Because I could just be posting, I could post an OnlyFans and probably make tons of money. I mean, for
Right.
real.
Mm-hmm.
But I choose not to do that because that to me is crossing a line of now it's entertainment to manipulate others rather than a self-expression.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd love to hear more about your experience as someone who is celibate and like doesn't have a partner right now, right? Unless Tinder has been
I
successful and I know.
Oh, girl, I wish. Girl, I wish. But hey, we're
Okay.
working on it. We are
Okay. Okay. So as someone who is waiting for marriage and does not currently have a partner. You've talked about like preparing for marriage and for sex in certain ways. I just want you to go more into detail about that, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes. Okay. I think the first thing, I was actually having a conversation with a friend just the other day about this, so I think it's super relevant. Because we were just talking and she had an experience with a guy that was very new, and she felt like afterwards that like nothing happened, but she was like, I think I went too far, like I'm feeling kind of guilty about it. And we kind of broke that down, and I was like, well, yeah, because you went from like nothing to like making out. Like that's a huge jump. That's a huge
Mm-hmm.
jump, and society will tell you that it's not, but your body physiologically will. So for
Uh-huh.
me, having like very set boundaries in place, that like if I am with a guy, they know, like being able to communicate these boundaries. So I think being celibate, the first step, honestly, before you get a partner, before anything like that, decide for yourself for right now. Things could change, but like, what are your hard lines that will keep you within your value system? So for me, just examples of what are my hard lines. Both of us keep our pants on. It does not matter. Like that is a hard line. It will not change until marriage. Like until we have a certificate and you said I do, both our pants stay on.
Mm-hmm.
My shirt stays on.
Mm-hmm.
For me, touching my breasts and any sort of hand or mouth stimulation on either genitals, which again, if your pants are on, it's a lot harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
So where it's kind of helps with that. But if we're talking like hands, like no hand or mouth stimulation on genitals. Those are like my hard lines. Everything else I feel like is more up for communication and deciding like what feels appropriate and blah blah blah. But you start with like, okay, these are like my hard lines, right? And then you can start to think about, well, what do I want and what kind of experiences am I willing to have and blah blah blah. If you cannot look someone in the eyes and verbally say to them, this is what I want. If you can't communicate that, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that that's a great place to start. If you are celibate and you're doing things that you wouldn't be able to look them in the eyes and
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm okay with, or I'm not okay with this, and be able to talk about it, then you're probably crossing lines
Mm-hmm.
that you will continue to cross until you reach a point where you're like, what's that? Like, well, it went way past my
Mm-hmm.
values, right? Like, you don't want your physical intimacy to supersede your emotional intimacy.
For
And
sure.
so for me, I need to be in a place where like I trust this person enough to communicate my wants and desires, not just my, boundaries, but the things that I like. I want to be in a place where I trust that they're going to listen to me and that they're going to care about my experience in even just like a make out. Because if you're with someone that
Yeah.
doesn't even care about your experience making out, you think that they're going to care about your orgasm in marriage? They're
Yeah.
not.
No.
They're not.
Uh-huh.
So, so that's kind of like the first thing. Can we, sorry, repeat your question again?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I got off on my tangent.
Oh, you're good. I was just gonna say, like, how are you preparing for
How am I preparing? Um,
yeah.
For me, I have taken my marriage prep to extreme levels, and I'm
Yeah,
getting
degrees.
I'm gonna have,
Degrees.
yeah, I'm getting certificates
Uh-huh.
saying I understand how this works. Um, yeah, I love knowing things. I love learning about things, and I think that that's a great way to prepare for marriage,
Mhm.
is to kind of see what kind of things would you want to experiment on, what piques your interest. Of course, you're gonna hit a line pretty quick of like, well, you can't necessarily try it and see
Yeah,
if you
right.
actually like it. But
Mhm.
like if you were to go into a dessert shop,
Mhm.
okay, but you're told like you can't eat anything, all right,
Mhm.
but like you can look, there's these pastries being made, right? You're gonna go around, there's gonna be certain things that like, ooh, that one actually piques my interest. And you're gonna ask questions about that. Okay, what is that made out of?
Mhm.
What's in that? Ooh, what is this? Oh, it has that inside? I don't know. Because my experience that I do have, I'm curious about that one. So then you can like pull, have them
Yeah.
like pull all the different things. It doesn't mean that like everything in the room, you're like, well, you might as well not step foot in there because, you can't eat anything. Like, well, but why do I read the menu before I go to a restaurant? So I can be
Mhm.
prepared to order, babe.
Uh-huh.
So I can take my time in my
Yeah.
free time when I'm not pressured in the moment. Like, no, I want to go in when there's no pressure. When I'm going in knowing I don't have the money, I don't have like I'm not gonna eat what's in there.
Hmm.
So I can really take my time and I can ask questions and I can discover. And so for me, that same thing applies to like learning about sex. I want to learn like what types of things are available for what ideas we could go even from just like a very like analytical thing, like what positions are there, right? Like what tools are there, what are sex swings, how do they work,
Hmm.
what are the pros and cons, like why do some people use them and why do some people not like them,
Hmm.
what about lubes, what are lubes made out of, what are the different kinds of lube. I'm going to go into a store and I'm going to feel them and be like, huh, that's interesting. And this one, because rather than just having my one girlfriend that's only ever tried like one lube in her life tell me that
Hmm.
that's the one, I want to go in, I want to see for myself, right?
Hmm.
And then I'm going to gather all this information. That's what I do at least, is
Hmm.
I've got lists on lists on lists, babe, of like, I want to try this and I want to try this. And this stuff, I'm like, open to trying, but like, I'd rather try this stuff first.
Yeah.
And I feel like to me, how great is that going to be for my future spouse one day? Right? Like, I'm my plan, because I have it all written because I'm type A, and it's literally titled for my future husband.
Hmm.
And it's going to be a binder and it's going to have different sections to it because it's all organized.
Okay.
And not only does it have like sexual things, it has things as simple as like, here's my order at all of these like restaurants and stuff because I like that. Like
Hmm.
being able to express what I like in non-sexual things will help me and is helping teach me how to express them for more intimate, more sexual desires, right? Like practicing following my passions now, I think has been the biggest thing that has helped me. Things that make me feel passion, things that make me feel so much joy and creativity,
Hmm.
following those, taking a second with myself to see like what do I like? What do I want to try? What makes me nervous, but I've always dreamt of doing? That was pole dancing for me.
Yeah.
That was why I did it, is because I was like, I don't want myself in a sexual sense to be so afraid of trying something new because I've never practiced trying something new. I've never tried being creative. I've always just let my self-consciousness rule my choices. No, I'm practicing those behaviors now in non-sexual ways so that one day when I can be creative, as in procreative,
Hmm.
like I'm going to be ready.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really what sexuality is it's the innate divine power that we have to create friendships, create beauty, create all of that. So if you're not practicing creating that in your celibacy, how do you expect to then create something that is so foreign to you? You need to be familiar with it in some capacity.
Yeah. Okay, I'd love if you would talk a little bit more about like Heavenly Mother and you and sexuality and spirituality and how they all connect.
When I started like really understanding that I am a daughter of heavenly parents, and this has been more recent, I would say in the last like 3-ish years, Heavenly Mother has just really come to the forefront of my mind where I'm like, where is she? I need her. I need her voice. I need her name, like Heavenly Mother. Like, I need that spoken. She's missing.
Yeah.
I'm not adopted, so I can't speak to that experience, but I would love to talk to someone who has been adopted. But I don't know, from like things that I've seen online and stuff, I feel like they reach a point where it's like they want to discover who they are. And
Mhm.
it's not because they don't love their earthly parents, like their adoptive parents, like, but there is a part of them that they want to understand that they can't without this biological factor. That is literally how I feel about my Heavenly Mother,
Yeah.
is like
Uh-huh.
there is like a spiritual DNA component going on of like I love my earthly parents, my like adoptive, we could say earthly
Uh-huh.
parents, but like I am missing this connection to where I came from. Who is she? Who is my divine mother? Once I started wanting to hear from her, I feel like I did. I started listening to podcasts that discussed her. I read what is it, the church paper about Heavenly Mother. I found out about MacArthur Krishna. She wrote A Girl's Guide to Heavenly Mother. It's a children's book. And then she also wrote A Boy's Guide to Heavenly Mother. Krishna is Krishna, and
Okay.
her name is MacArthur.
Mhm.
You should listen to the podcast episode with her and Dr. Jennifer Finlayson Fife on Conversations with Dr. Jennifer. That's the podcast. I'll send it to you. But it's an episode with her and like someone from BYU, I think, and they discuss Heavenly Mother. Oh my gosh. That episode, so good. But I started finding podcasts, and it wasn't like I found them. I felt like my Heavenly Mother was allowing me to see her.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like this desire that I had to see her was being fulfilled, and I was being led through the Spirit to feel her more, see her more, understand her. Then I read a book on Eve because I felt very directed that like Heavenly Mother, Eve, and Mary are very interwoven and connected. I read this amazing book. I'll send it to you as well. It's just
Okay.
incredible. But in it, it references this book. It's called The Seven Daughters of Eve, which The Seven Daughters of Eve is not a religious book. It's not a religious text. It's a geneticist, someone who looks at genes.
Oh, okay.
And he discovered that you can trace back every woman to Eve through seven genetic lines because there's genetic code that only passes women to women.
Oh.
And that, I don't know, like I literally get chills just thinking about it. Like there is something there. There is something I haven't quite discovered like the significance of it, but the chills that I get when I think about that like that there is something that women hold within them and is passed from woman to woman is so deeply profound and doctrinal that I feel like that's currently the journey I'm on, is like to discover my connection. But yeah, once I started seeing her everywhere, then I started seeing myself, I feel like more accurately. That she's powerful, I'm
Yeah.
powerful. She's sexual, she is beauty, she is fun, she is all of these things. And if I am from her, then I must be those things too. My Heavenly Mother probably, when she went through whatever experience she did on whatever earth, I don't know quite how that works. I'm sure she questioned herself, but like her now, she's not spending time thinking about how she looks and like how other people think of her. She
Mhm.
knows who she is
Yeah.
on such a level that I can't even comprehend as a human on earth.
Hmm.
And so that to me is what has empowered me in my sexuality, is I'm like, she understands the importance of sexuality and her beauty and her creative nature, and she has given that to me. Hopefully that
Yeah,
answered
I
your
love
question.
that. Girl, you better be sending me all these links.
Yes, I know. I need to write down like all the links I need to send you.
Yeah. Well, we've also done some readings about Heavenly Mother, so I might send you some stuff too, just like for this class.
Please do.
It's super interesting, also kind of like sort of the misinformation that we're also fed about her.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what we really went into, and I really liked that. So anyway, we'll have to do a whole nother talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Heavenly Mother.
Anyway, but thanks. That was really good. I really liked that, what you had to say. So before this, I was reading just like a ton of church stuff. Just like I just like Googled sex in like LDS.org and I was just reading whatever came up. I feel like something that I'd like vaguely heard of before, but I hadn't really like thought about it that much. Was kind of like how the Holy Ghost and spirituality does play into sex between husband and wife. And so I thought I'd maybe read you the couple quotes that I found that I was kind of like, huh, and then sort of get your opinion on that, if that's all right.
Ooh,
Okay.
absolutely. Go for it.
Or this first one is from Elder Jeffrey R. Holland. And he says, sexual union within marriage is a union not only of a man and a woman, but very much the union of that man and woman with God. You will never be more like God at any other time in this life than when you are expressing this particular power. And I think we'll start with that one. So, what thoughts from there? Do you want to expound on it at all?
Oh, I mean, men are that they may have joy, right?
Uh,
And when I think of how our systems, the clitoris and the penis, how they work, the clitoris, this 18 structured entire organ that's only designed for pleasure and a woman's ability to have multiple orgasms and what that does to like her parasympathetic nervous system, the endorphins that it releases, the hormones that it releases is all to help the physical body feel euphoric. And like so much is happening on a biological level when someone orgasms, man or woman, but the capacity that women have for pleasure to me is so cool. It's
mhm,
so cool. I'm like, that, wow, we were designed in a way that this must be by a loving God
mhm,
because to allow us as humans to experience so much pleasure and the part of your brain that's in charge of cognitive, like rational thinking, literally shuts off so that you can fully give in.
Oh.
That is so cool that we have this design. And to me, that shows that, yeah, that must be godlike for us to feel such an extreme level of joy and not even for a procreative reason. That to me is so great. I love knowing that. That connects with my beliefs in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that God designed me, my heavenly parents designed me to experience joy and to be able to connect with another person and in that way to give and to receive and to grow. And in order to like achieve that, you really have to understand communication and you have to be able to understand yourself. What's the first great commandment? To love God and love others as thyself. That to me is perfectly replicated in what you just said. Like
Mhm.
you are loving someone else. You are loving God, this gift that our heavenly parents gave us, our body. We are doing such a godlike thing to connect with each other. But in order to have any of that, I have to love myself. I have to know myself in order to know somebody else. Because in a biblical sense, I took notes on this. The biblical term to know a partner sexually in tradition was seen as a blessing of profound physical and emotional experience. That aligns with my beliefs
Yeah.
that me connecting with someone in that way and them loving me in that way and then being rewarded with such pleasure and euphoria and like my body enjoying it, this gift that I've been given by my heavenly parents to have a body. Yeah, I think it would be like the culminating
Yeah.
moment if it's done correctly. And
Mhm.
that's why I personally don't have any issue with like the law of chastity, obeying it myself, because I'm like, yeah, no, I want what this I think was designed to be. And I think other versions of it, I have my own opinions and stuff, and they're probably more lax than most church members. But like the reason that I have chosen to stay celibate is because of fully trusting, fully understanding, loving God, loving someone else, and then loving myself and the pure pleasure that I want, I don't think that I can achieve without trusting someone in that way, without them proving to me that they're going to treat me right into while we're dating, you know?
Okay, so the next quote is from Wendy Nelson, so President Nelson's wife. And it says, for true marital intimacy, the Holy Ghost needs to be involved. It is simply not possible to have the kind of intimate experience outside of marriage that you can have because the Spirit will not be present. And I don't know, for me, I read that and I was kind of like, what do you mean the Ghost is there? Like, what? So
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
How do you kind of think that like works? Or I don't know.
Okay, so am I picturing the Holy Spirit like this being in the room? No. I'm picturing the qualities of the Spirit, so the gift of discernment. And if you're going to put that into a sexual context, being able to discern whether or not what you're doing is causing your partner pleasure, I think is important. Like I think that, yeah, I don't think it's limited for us to receive a spiritual prompting. Because I think, again, we separate it so clearly. And this might be radical thinking or, where you're only given spiritual thoughts to like do good to others and like, don't go down that alleyway because it's dangerous. Like that's how we like picture the spirit, right?
Right.
But the spirit is, yeah, it's this gift of discernment, it's of remembrance, and it's what is it? Who was it that was quick to observe in the scriptures? And of course, we always take that. I think it's Mormon or Moroni. Moroni was quick to
Hmm.
observe. We only place it in one side in like a biblical sense. So again, this might be radical me placing it in the bedroom,
Mhm.
but to be able to look at your partner and be quick to observe their micro expressions and what they are liking, what they are not liking, what they're not saying, or being able to communicate with them, to be able to say something that will allow them to open up and express to you what would cause them more fulfillment. I think that that could be very spiritual between the two of you. If the couples that I work with, right? Like if he was able, the man in the scenario was able to look at his wife and know that something wasn't right, that like she's
Right.
not being fully truthful, because what the spirit testifies of truth, right?
Hmm.
That the orgasm that
Yeah.
she's faking right now isn't real.
Uh-huh.
What if, hear me
Uh-huh.
out. What if he could tell that that wasn't real? And what if she, through the spirit, was like, you know what, I'm not gonna fake it. And then they're able to observe and discern with each other that something's not quite right. Through the spirit, understand what words to use to express what they're actually wanting to say without fear of how the other person will react, that the other person will receive it with the spirit. They hear it in the way that they're going to need to hear it for them to then have an action
Mhm.
that elevates the relationship and the intimacy in that moment. Just in the same way that someone gives a talk and like I may hear something different than what they actually said, but because of the spirit, I interpreted it in the way that was going to be helpful for me and lead me to action. Because when we receive spiritual promptings, that builds our faith, and faith is action. Faith is doing something, right?
Right.
So I think that that definitely applies in the bedroom. That if you are going in wanting to understand, you have this desire, right? Faith is like a little seed. If planted, it will grow. If you
Mhm.
have a desire to have a better sexual relationship with your partner and you are asking for help from our heavenly parents, when you say things, that it will be delivered by the Spirit to your partner in a way that she will understand, in a way that she can feel comfortable to express herself, that you can be quick to observe her body position and you can receive spiritual promptings in that moment of turn her hips this way and actually she would
Mhm.
like this and say this thing because that's going to turn her on. I
Mhm.
don't think that the spirit is limited on what kind of promptings we can get.
Mhm.
And I think that that is what I take from her saying that you need the spirit in the room.
Yeah.
I don't know, again, radical thinking, but like I
No,
think that you could be
I like
prompted.
that.
I think that if you're reading, like if I think it can be so helpful for men to read books that their wives find erotic in
Mhm.
some way. It's not the same as pornography. That could be a tangent I go on forever. But
Mhm.
if like she's reading a book that like it is allows her to live in a sexual fantasy and she really likes it, and you were to read that and you were to like really understand as a man and you were like, what about this do you like? You like it when he says these things to her? And she's like, yeah, yeah, no, that's hot. And then in the bedroom, those sayings are brought to your remembrance and you say
Yeah.
them
Hmm.
like give the spirit something to work with,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that. Uh-huh. Okay. So you obviously seem like you're pretty comfortable with like your spirituality and your sexuality and the integration of those both. But I was just wondering if you wanted to talk about if you still experience any conflict between the two, or what conflict has looked like between those two in the past for you, or anything like that.
Um, I would say it's a lot more societal.
Hmm.
And by societal, I mean within the church,
Yeah.
the church society.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think I definitely still have like huge moments of being self-conscious of what is my church community going to think about this? What conclusions are they going to jump to about me based on what I'm saying? Me studying sexology, what are they going to assume about what I'm getting up to with
Hmm.
like
Uh-huh.
me working in a sex store? I think it's very logical for a lot of people to assume that I'm using a lot of vibrators. I have spreadsheets of over 500 vibrators written
Uh-huh.
on them. What I do, what I specialize in is sexual dysfunction and products and understanding the different vibrators that are available, what speeds they're at, what materials they're made out of, how they work, how they feel, all of this stuff, right? So I think someone would automatically very easily think, well, then you must have a lot of vibrators.
Hmm.
Like, I
Yeah.
can tell you all right now, I've never in my life masturbated.
Hmm.
So I think that
Besides
that,
the orgasms.
yeah, except for orgasms. Um, I think that then like me saying that automatically discredits all that I know about vibrators, which
Mhm.
is very frustrating to me because if someone doesn't know, if I just allow them to assume that yes, I'm masturbating 12 times a day, I've used all of these vibrators, I
Mhm.
am an expert, then all of a sudden that gains me credibility. So when I say things, because that's what they're assuming. When I'm teaching them about vibrators, they're assuming that about me because of my knowledge. But if you don't know how much I actually know about vibrators and you've never heard me talk about them, I think me not using one automatically discredits everything that I know. And that I think is frustrating for me because I'm like, ugh, but I'm telling you right now, I'm the least biased person that can tell
Sure.
you about how vibrators work. And it's not because I'm against using them. I'm actually very pro masturbation, even though I don't myself. So I think like
Mhm.
these kind of ideas, that's where I think I not struggle, but I have a hard time explaining myself in a way that makes sense to both members and non-members alike.
Yeah.
But really, it comes down to I have figured out for me what works for me, what I feel comfortable with, what I feel like is aligned with my values, because I have spoken to my heavenly parents about it and I have come up with what I do and how I live my life right now. I think that that is the most important message I could give to anybody is the reason it's probably not going to make sense to everybody is because this is my plan. This is the plan for my life, the plan of salvation, the plan of joy, the plan of happiness for me. It has come with a lot of self-awareness and a lot of discovery about my wants and desires. And yeah, it may not make sense to everybody because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Like your sexuality is yours alone, and you have to figure out a way to get comfortable with it and then talk to God about it. Like
Yeah.
truly, your heavenly parents are there for you. So,
I
wow,
love
I
that.
does that answer your question?
No, for sure. No, I like that. And actually, it kind of goes along with another question I kind of had. So this is sort of, I don't know, don't violate HIPAA or anything, but I'm wondering if you can speak from experience of like working with other women on like sexual dysfunction and stuff. So I feel like a lot of the ways that female sexuality is shown in society or in the media is that it means like little clothing and you have to be like very smooth and like very seductive and like that sort of thing. So I don't know, I feel like I used to think that like, oh, getting comfortable with your sexuality means like getting comfortable in less clothing and getting which I don't know, to some extent that's probably true.
Yeah.
But I don't know, what do you kind of say? What do you kind of how do you kind of separate that and like define it as something different than that? Because I don't know if you've ever had that experience like working with clients who are like, yeah, no, this is not like, I don't know, something that I enjoy or that.
Yes. So you're saying that a lot of women are like only associating sex with like wearing lingerie and
Right,
being
like
comfortable
wearing,
in lingerie.
yeah,
Yeah.
wearing lingerie or like, I don't know, behaving or acting or looking in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know, obviously, and we talked about how like pole was something that was like very good for both of us to like kind of get comfortable, but we also know that like for a lot of people that like wouldn't be comfortable, but that is something
Yeah.
that like stereotypically is like how we've defined like female sexuality. Like, oh, if you're good at pole, then like, oh, you are like sexy because you know how to move your body and you like dress in little clothes or that sort of thing. And so
Yeah.
I don't know. I am kind of wondering how you think sexuality can break out of those.
Oh, okay, I'm with you now. I'm with you. I think a great place to start is by having people self-define what sexuality is to them. Because exactly what you're saying, we're putting sexuality in this box that it must look this way. It must be certain movements of your body in certain clothing, a certain type of confidence that a woman has. And so then when a woman is coming, excuse me, a client is coming to me being like, the thought of going to a pole dancing class is an absolute no. In fact, that
Mm-hmm.
really rubs up against her personal values.
Uh-huh.
No, thank you. Then it's like, well, then how can she feel sexual if she's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like wearing lingerie and I don't
Yeah.
want to move that way and I don't feel confident in that and I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think then it becomes, okay, well, then what would feel erotic to you? What would spark desire and self-confidence in you? Now, maybe let's just take an example of a woman who, yeah, she's saying absolutely not. Let's say they've been married for 25 years. She's never orgasmed. Okay. She is not comfortable in any way at all of using a vibrator. The thought of it feels very unnatural to her, goes really against kind of what she's been taught her entire life. So, yeah, no, just someone just saying, like, no, it's okay, or painting it in a different way isn't going to change her mind on that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not my job to necessarily like change someone's mind. It's to understand where they're coming from. So I'm thinking of an exact client right now, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
keep some things different.
Right.
But yeah, going to a charity, and she's older, she's in menopause,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
her sexual desire is quite different than it was when she was younger. So I would instead be like, okay, what makes you, again, I would go from a stance of like, what makes you feel creative? What brings you joy, not in a sexual realm? What is bringing you joy?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say she's really into baking. She loves the experience of making food for someone and them enjoying it. So then something simple that we may do is like, how comfortable would you be if we maybe spiced that up of taking an activity that you like, that you feel comfortable with, and we allow your partner in on that experience in a more intimate way. And that then we would start to kind of unravel what she would feel comfortable with and what she wouldn't feel comfortable with. Let's say she's like not into lingerie, or maybe she's like open to it, but she wasn't open to it in like all these other settings, but it's like, let me just throw this out. Well, what if you baked with an apron on, but you were wearing lingerie while you baked?
Mm-hmm.
And you let your partner sit there. You don't want him in the kitchen because maybe that's a preference that you have. He's gonna
Uh-huh.
mess it up and that's gonna turn you off. But while you're doing something that you already love, can we deepen this? Can we make it something erotic for you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's things like that, like expanding what intimacy, I wouldn't just say sex, what intimacy looks like for a couple. I really don't like foreplay, and people within the sexology fields, we kind of big X over the word foreplay
Mm-hmm.
because it creates this narrative and idea, this social construct really, that like foreplay is just this box that has to be checked in order to get to the real sex. And
Mhm.
sex is always penis and vagina. Like that's what that
Mhm.
is. Instead, that is one of many things that sex can be and what it can
Mhm.
look like and the experience that you can have. And instead, having everything be outer course, the things that your spouse is saying to you, what fantasies do you have, allowing yourself to fantasize? Maybe that's like a first exercise that we do, is like, this week I want you to fantasize about a scenario in which you could be even slightly turned on by your spouse. And maybe it's something they come back and they're like, if he just like cleaned the entire house without telling me and came home and like I came home, that would be like, yeah, I would really like that.
Mhm.
So, okay, great. We're gonna start there.
Yeah.
Which someone may be like, "Ah, that's the bare minimum or whatever." Like, no, 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 no. Things don't necessarily have to be erotic for you to make them erotic. Like
Mhm.
you got to find what works for you and how to connect with your partner. And then again, that's building on communication. So I think I strayed from the question at some point in there, but
But no.
yeah, I would say expanding where you have to start is expanding your definition of what intimacy can
Yeah.
or should look like. I think that'd be a better way. What
Yeah,
should it look like? And maybe making it what can it look like?
for
What,
sure.
like, instead of putting restrictions on it.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily for my project, but I honestly want to hear your opinions about smut and masturbation. I don't know if you want to just like save that for later at all or anything, or go over it. I don't know, whatever you want.
So many thoughts about smut and masturbation. I am first going to direct you to someone who is much more eloquent than I,
Hmm.
when it comes to masturbation, because everything that she says I agree with. So you might as well just listen to her rather than me.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna find the episode.
Is it Dr. Jennifer again?
100% it is. It's
Okay.
Dr. Jennifer.
Okay.
But there's actually, I listened to this other podcast episode about the history of masturbation in the church. It's only like 15 minutes. And oh, it was so fascinating. It's so, so, so
Okay, you should
fascinating.
send that to me too.
Okay, I'm writing these down. So,
Sorry, I'm like giving you
and
homework here too.
yeah. No, are you kidding me? This is what I love as an educator, is sending resources to people. Because again, I'm just one voice, but
For sure.
so I love sending multiple resources to people. So again, that you can form your own opinions and see
Yeah.
what you align with and what you don't. The reason I love Dr. Jennifer so much and I like quote her so much is because I really align with her way of thinking, with her, the way that she says things speaks to me.
Hmm.
And it may not be that way for everybody, but I really like her stuff. Tammy Hill's another one that I really love. But sometimes the way that she says things, I didn't love her book as much as
Mhm.
I love other people's. Like you find the people that speak to you. So
For
send,
sure.
Callie, hold on, let me write this down. These are the two things that I will say about masturbation. I think that the narrative, that we have put as church members on it being this horrible sin, being so bad, I think that that is false. I think that it is incorrect. I think it's doing so much more damage than any good. That it's
Hmm.
the reason it's there, to not to discourage people from doing it, I think is causing so much irreparable harm,
Hmm.
genuinely, that I think it is causing way more of an issue than masturbation itself. And I don't see masturbation as an issue. So I'll just say that off the bat. These are just a few things, because anytime that I have a thought about masturbation, I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah. I'll like write it down in a note titled "My Thoughts on Masturbation" on my phone,
Okay, great.
because it's an ongoing thing. But this is just one thing I wrote down a few weeks ago when I was listening to a different podcast. I don't want masturbation to make me feel more lonely, because
Mhm.
as a single person, it can be very lonely at times. I'm a very extroverted person. I connect with a lot of people. I think I am less lonely than most because of my personality, which I'm very aware of. Which is why I genuinely try and seek out those that sit alone and are more introverted, because I can imagine can be much, much more difficult than someone like me who has little to no social anxiety walking into a room and sitting with strangers, you know? I think where masturbation can become an issue for somebody is if it is the only method in which they are using it to self-soothe and self-regulate their feelings, especially feelings of loneliness, because you're now turning to something that is inherently going to make you more lonely because it is a solo activity
Mhm.
when you are celibate, you know? And it's also, it doesn't have to be linked with pornography, and especially for women, the link is far less than with men. You can masturbate without pornography, but you're not watching pornography without masturbating. Like that's the way that it connects. But you're going to hit a point pretty quickly of masturbating that you're going to need some sort of outside stimuli in order to help yourself feel aroused, especially with how women's arousal works with blood flow and things. It takes more time. Like you need things that are going to be stimulating for you in order to reach a full orgasm. You need to mentally get there. And the easiest ways to do that are then going to be either listening to something or visual stimuli, which now you're involving somebody else who's again not real. Like they're not someone that you can actually have a connection with. You're not developing a relationship with this person that you're watching and then you're receiving sexual satisfaction from. And so I think that it creates this unnatural way for us to self-soothe, where the only way that you can do it is with someone that isn't real, that's not in the room with you. And if you are then not wanting to connect with people, you're not wanting to leave your room because you want to masturbate, I think that that becomes a problem because now you're making yourself more isolated, more lonely, more deprived of human connection. And human connection is what makes us happy and joyful and gives us fulfillment and also helps us grow as individuals, is hearing other people's perspectives. Pornography and masturbation are very self-gratifying, but they're also quick. You don't have to work very hard for that. And I think that that's why it's such an easy thing to turn to. But when the only thing that you're turning to is just, you know, you can just like Google pictures of something erotic that turns you on, then the idea of connecting with a person and how much effort that that takes to have a conversation with someone, get to know them, start to interact with them in a more playful, physical way, kiss them, and then they have their own moods and their own like whatever. That the desire level to go into that space is going to lessen significantly because why would I do that when I can just look up pictures or
Yeah.
videos or whatever and just masturbate?
Mhm.
And I think that that is truly where, if there is a problem, it lies there. It lies in this disconnection from real humans and from developing as a person. And then you in turn feel more lonely and therefore you need it more. And it's not as fulfilling over time. It's just really not. Then it becomes expensive. You know, if you're buying vibrators, then you need like as someone who researches vibrators, like, girl, I am not cheap anymore. Like when I get a vibrator, it's gonna be the top vibrator, okay? It's gonna be over $200. I can tell you exactly which one I'm gonna get. So then it becomes this like habitual thing. It loses its significance. And then you get into the whole conversation about pornography not really being real, the labiaplasties. Then as a woman, you can really develop some negative body image issues because you don't look like these women in the pornography. And
Mhm.
then you get these ideas about what sexuality is and what it must look like and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so because of all of that, one of the reasons I choose not to masturbate is because I don't want to feel more lonely. I don't think that my self-development needs that right now. I think that I'm able to grow as a person, as an individual, more without it than with it at this current moment in my life. Subject to change, but that's where I'm at.
Okay. Do you have time for smut at all? Or
Oh, smut. Yes, yes, yes. I do. I have, yes, I've got a few more minutes for smut. I
okay.
always have time for smut. Okay. So I've created a smut scale. You should look at it. It's on my Life According to Nikki Instagram. It's
Okay.
in the highlight sections.
Okay.
Okay.
Sweet.
The reason I made this is because, again, I think it's like anything. Like if you're going from nothing to like, boom, in your face, super extreme, all this stuff, that's a lot for people. That's a
Mhm.
lot. And if you like really, really, really like that, I think it can create some not as normal behaviors and or ideas about sex. And I'm not kink shaming. Like, listen, if you're into that girl, you be into it.
Mhm.
But I think that there's a healthier way to ease in to smut reading. And so I created a scale with comparison of books and movies and TV. It's like, okay, if you like this type of movie, if you're liking The Princess Diaries, if that is like your top movie of all time, I wouldn't recommend you go read ACOTAR off the bat.
Mhm.
Like, I really wouldn't.
Mhm.
I would start with something a little bit more mild, something sweet. So, smut, I'm actually about to write a paper on this, about
You
what
should totally
happens.
send it to me.
Oh, I
I'm
will.
so intrigued.
I am gonna do some research on what happens in your brain because the part of your brain that is stimulated by smut is not the same that is stimulated by pornography or in the same way. Where pornography, again, it's this visual stimuli typically. There's not a lot of room for interpretation because you're seeing it all. Whereas with smut, your mind is much more active in it and you have a lot more control over how deep you want your mind to go into the visualization of the words that you're reading or listening to. And of course, that varies because you can have smut that's very extreme and it's like definitely like spelling everything out for you,
Mm-hmm.
but you still like, there's still
Yeah,
no visual stimuli. You are creating it yourself.
for sure.
And so it's enacting a different part of your brain.
Mhm.
And studies show that the reason that romantic women's romance is the top selling genre in the entire world really, I think, says something about women and what we like. We like the intimacy in these books of it's a whole experience. It's a lot of different words. It's not just what is happening, it's what's being said. It's how they're feeling about it. It's the description of the setting. It's the imagery, the fantasy of it that women are really drawn to. Whereas like just watching something doesn't do it as much for women, like just from a blood flow level. Like it's not going to send as much blood
Mhm.
flow to your genitals to be like, oh,
Mhm.
you're aroused as reading and the suspense in books, and like the creativity that your mind is having to go through in order to like picture what's being spoken about. So I think that just like anything, it can be taken to extremes. If you're reading so much smut that you are now disappointed in your experience with your partner, that you would rather read a book than have sex with your partner, I think that maybe you're crossing a line.
Mhm.
I don't think that that is now being like helpful to you. If that is your way to self-soothe and it is disconnecting you from connection with another person, I think anything that disconnects you from your desire to connect with, especially your partner, someone that you have chosen to connect with and made a commitment with, I think that that needs to be looked at and addressed and see, okay, how maybe you could incorporate, maybe you read the book together. I don't know. Like there's different things that you can do. Or maybe you act out the scenes in your book so it makes you more excited. Use it as a connector to another person rather than an escape,
Yeah.
because books can often be an escape. But I do find that smut, especially, can help women in a very safe way discover their own sexuality. And for that, I think that it is a very positive thing. Very, very positive, especially coming from the women that I work with, being very religious, being very scared, but it's not scary when it's them alone reading a book
Mhm.
and they can shut it at any moment. They can think about what that scene and what they thought about it and they can contemplate it and it's all safe. You're not involving another person. Whereas pornography, like you are in a way, you are involving another person. Like you don't know how ethically that material
Yeah.
was derived. Whereas with books, you're not involving anybody else. It's just you. It's just you and your mind. And then I think that that should be I think it's a great way for women to discover their sexuality and think of, oh, this is something that I kind of want to try. And listen, ladies, if you're if you're single, you should be writing that down. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what I do.
Uh-huh.
I write this down. I'm like, okay, I want this. I want to try
Mm-hmm.
this. So that's in my book for to my future husband is
Okay.
these chapters. You're gonna read these. I would love your thoughts on them, spouse. And like, yeah, let's do this because
Mm-hmm.
this sounds exciting and fun to me.
Uh-huh.
But for me, I am very particular about what smut I like. I don't like certain verbiage. I don't like just in the same way, going back to that example of walking into like a sweet shop, right? There are going to be some things that like maybe you can sample a couple things, and books are like a great way to like sample something
Mm-hmm.
without having to like commit to it. You're not, so I'm sampling it and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that. Maybe I would like it with somebody else, but like on its own, that's too much for me. That's too much. And so then I stick with what I like. And then I put those things as like some things are hard no's for me.
Yeah.
But at least for now. But it doesn't mean just because you're into smut doesn't mean you're reading like the super dark stuff. No, girl, go understand yourself, really take an inventory. What do you like? What is bringing you feelings of excitement and satisfaction, and but not in a way that causes you more loneliness, in a way that makes you excited to connect with other people.
Okay, yes, I love that. I don't know. I feel like that's something that I've always kind of been like, I don't know how to like feel or think about that, but
Yeah.
but
The books
thank
that I
you.
read, they all make me feel very motivated to like get on a dating app. Because when I'm done, I'm like,
Okay,
oh
that's
my gosh, like
good.
I'm like, I want that so bad. Like
Hmm.
I want it. I want it to be real. I want it to
Hmm.
be tangible. I want to feel that. Like I
Yeah.
want that. And so then it's a motivator for me. So that's the type,
That's
but
sweet.
that's my preference. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're
I'm
welcome.
so
Thank
glad we
you.
got to talk. This is amazing.
This was
I
so fun. Sorry, I
so
went
many
on
good
so
thoughts.
many tangents.
Oh no, I love it though. And I feel like there's so many more to go on, but I don't want to make you late. So
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go work lunch. And
wait,
I
what
gotta
is
see my
your work?
crush. I'm gonna send you
Oh,
all of the things
yes.
and
I'm
send
so
me this
excited.
recording because I'm gonna post
Okay,
on
yay, I'm so
my
excited. Yeah,
podcast.
honestly, you have such great thoughts. I'm so glad this is gonna go out into the world.
I love this. You are so fabulous, and I will talk to you later. Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that hearing my opinions, I don't know, maybe brought some further insight into me and sexuality, spirituality. Maybe it brought some things up for you to kind of dissect and figure out what your views are. There was one thing that I wanted to expound on slightly. After I listened to the episode back, I realized that when Callie asked the question about how women view sexuality and how most of the time it's only viewed with what type of clothing you feel comfortable in and movements that you feel comfortable making, I just wanted to make sure that it was really clear that sexuality is so much more than that, and it's unfortunate to me that women's sexuality is so typically defined only in their physical appearance and how comfortable they are in displaying their sexuality to others. And I don't think that that is a good indicator of healthy sexuality. As someone who dresses extremely modestly, I definitely don't think that my expression in my clothing needs to be an immediate expression of my sexuality that everyone else around me can see. Although I think purity culture and the definition of modesty has only ever really, in recent generations, been tied to the length of your skirt and, how high or low your top is, I don't think that that is what it's all about. I think that that is such a surface level thing that we're looking at. I think someone's sexuality, especially a woman, that she needs to get to a place where she genuinely likes her body, that if she were to look at herself naked in the mirror, she has, one, self-respect. She likes the person that's looking back at her, and that she sees that she has value far beyond her physicality. I think that there's a level of gratitude that needs to be there. In order for you to really appreciate your own sexuality, you need to appreciate what your body is capable of and the beauty that's there. It's okay to feel hot. It's okay to look at yourself and think that you're sexy. And it's also okay to not want to display that to everybody. That isn't an indicator of your own personal feelings. I feel like I have a lot of confidence now. I didn't always, but I do now feel very sexy, and I really like how I look. I like how my body can move. Of course, that doesn't always, it's not true day to day. When I'm ovulating, it's definitely true, but when I'm in my luteal phase, it's a little less true. Got those body insecurities when you feel bloated and all that. But I do think that I am more than my physical appearance, and it's just important to me that women know that that's a great starting point, is really loving yourself and appreciating what you have. And then the empowerment, I think, comes from when you decide now how you want to deal with that, with this power that you have. Are you going to use it to manipulate others into getting something that you want, or as external validation? Is that the only way that it's going to come to you, is if you display your sexuality and show that you're loud and proud? Is that the only way that you're feeling pretty? For me, I don't need a guy to tell me that I'm pretty or think that I'm sexy to know that I am. In fact, I'm a lot more guarded with it because I know that I am. I know what I have. Therefore, to me, it's not just this thing that I'm going to hand out for free. It has actual real value, and I really appreciate it, and I want someone who is also going to appreciate it, and who's going to appreciate who it's coming from, that it's coming from me, that he's not just using me for my sexuality, but it is in addition to who I am as a person. It's this amazing added bonus that, and also I'm a very sexual being. So I don't know if I adequately expressed that with Callie or even now, but I did want to just add a little bit more clarification that I think it's a great place to start, but I think our view of sexuality, especially as women, needs to be much more internal. It needs to not come from these outside sources of other people thinking that we're pretty or other people thinking that we're sexy, but just an appreciation for who we are, what we bring into the world, the connections that we make with other people, and not doubting that. I think that's where the confidence comes, and at least with me, the more confident that I've become, the easier it has been to not have a desire to dress in a certain way or do certain things that the world tells me that I have to, media says that I have to dress sexy in order to be sexy, and I just don't agree. I don't agree. And when I do dress, more provocatively, if I'm doing a chair dancing class or a pole dancing class, I have so much more choice in that, and I am more fulfilled in it because it's for me. It's not for anybody else. It's for me to feel more full of joy and eroticism. And I celebrate that rather than say that it's bad or wrong. And I like that I have full control over it, that it's not to manipulate somebody else or get what I want or get validation, but it's just, no, this is a choice I'm making, and I like that I can feel this way. And I'm practicing feeling comfortable with feeling sexy. So there you go. They're my final thoughts. That was probably very repetitive, but you know what? There you go. I'm not going to edit this section. I'm just going to post it. So there is the ending to this episode. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. If this is more content that you would like, obviously I speak on a lot of different sexual topics. So if you guys are wanting more episodes like this one, just let me know and we can make it happen. I hope you all have an amazing week, and thanks for listening.